Welcome to Boo You Gore, our official first episode, Jade.
Yes, how exciting.
So we're going to, I guess, just dive straight in. We're going to talk about the Menendez brothers because they're quite out in the media at the moment, quite a big case that's come back to popularity, really.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, by the time you guys are actually listening to this, hopefully the boys are out.
Because if we release, we're going to hopefully plan to release this on Halloween, which I thought was just quite fitting to just do our first episode there. We gave ourselves enough time to get everything sorted.
And yeah, the DA is saying that they should know by the end of the week the results of the habeas corpus, which obviously we'll go into in a minute. So by the time you're listening to this, hopefully they might be out. Yeah.
It'll be very interesting to hear. But yeah, we'll do a little bit of a brief breakdown of the background, but we won't go into too much detail, and then we'll just chat about the murders, I guess.
So obviously we're talking about the Menendez brothers today. So in case you didn't know, the boys were sentenced in the early 90s for the 1989 double homicide of their parents. So right from the start, the whole situation was a media circus, which is now a bit of a media circus again, I guess, but this time it's working for them, not against them.
Yeah, because everyone's just bringing it back to attention because more people are understanding of the situation. So I guess more people are fighting for them to get out.
Absolutely. Because everything that they went through at the time wasn't a thing that happened or was talked about back then, whereas now the world's evolved a bit and we're talking about it and realising that they shouldn't be in there for the rest of their life.
Yeah, so no matter how much we talk about it, it's always going to come down to murder. But the whole reasoning behind it was that they were sexually and physically abused by their own father from a very young age.
Absolutely.
That's why that was such a big case, I guess, because no one really believed them back in the late 80s.
Because it just didn't happen to boys back then. And it didn't happen in affluent families. Yeah. That was something that happened in poor families, and it happened to girls. It didn't happen to two white rich kids. And that's literally what it came down to.
Yeah. I mean, we'll tell you the background of. So their father was Jose Menendez. He was a Cuban national born in 1944 who moved with his family to the US after they lost everything during the Cuban Revolution. I mean, that's even interesting in itself, what they've come from in Cuba. I think they were one of those fancy, they're from Havana. Like, it was a very...
Yeah, that's it. And they were... I believe Jose's parents were both sporting people. They were both tennis stars or something.
Like prolific themselves as well.
He came from a very, very wealthy family until obviously the revolution hit. They lost everything.
Moved to America. So like you said, after being broke, Jose always wanted more and attended a Southern Illinois university where he met Kitty, who... her name is Mary Louise Anderson. Obviously, Kitty was a nickname. And they married in 1963 and moved to New York, where Jose went to gain an accounting degree. I was just blank.
I got stuck at the New York. Which is looking at the notes, and where I went to type New York, it literally says ill York. So in New York, where he went on to gain the accounting degree, and then obviously later on they went on to have the two boys. So Lyle in 1968, so he was born while they were still in New York, and that's where Kitty left her job to move on to become a full-time mum.
What do they call those? The Stepford wives?
Yeah, Stepford wives. Yeah.
But that's what she really was. She was one of those people that was like, look at me.
Yeah.
Wanted that attention and wanted that.
That's it. Yeah. Wanted to be the wife of the rich man. And
wanted all the jewelry and the clothes and
Yeah.
I mean, we say that, but if you know this story, you'll think a lot of people will agree with us, because she was one of those people that once you know the situation and what she kept secret and what she didn't help with, you agree with us that she was like that.
And how much of a motivator that money actually was
for her. Yeah.
Oh, digger.
So they moved to New Jersey, and after she became a full-time mum, and Erik was born in New Jersey in 1970. And both the boys would attend Princeton Day School. That's a bit fancy.
Right.
A day school.
I went to Princeton when I was 6. Fancy.
So Jose went on to become an executive at Hertz and then later at RCA Records before becoming CEO of Live Entertainment. And after becoming the CEO of that company, they then moved the family to Calabasas in California, which is, I guess, where they ended up.
That's it.
In the end.
So, I mean, Jose was absolutely driven. He was definitely driven. He was going to achieve no matter what he did. He was always going to apply himself to it and go on to become something great.
He was very powerful.
Absolutely. And he pushed for that. He worked hard to become the powerful, wealthy businessman that he was, even at the detriment of his own family.
Mm.
He wasn't going to let anything stand in his way.
Yes. Is it a bit disgusting? That's what I'm thinking. I can't say it normally.
So obviously a lot of time away from his family to become who he ended up becoming. So time away from his family and multiple affairs pushed Kitty into a place of depression and resentment towards giving up her life of glamour to become a stay-at-home mum.
Yeah, she would have hated that. She did not want to do that.
And she was very open about hating being a mum and open about hating her children.
Yeah. Well, like we found out in that TikTok, she even told a psychiatrist all this stuff. She hated being a mum, but then kept all those secrets and confessed that she knew that what was happening.
She was never that loving, nurturing figure that the boys needed. They never had that mum that they could go to protect them because she actually did everything in her power to do the opposite.
Yeah.
She cared about Jose. That was it.
Exactly.
Because that's where her money came from.
Yeah. And I mean, they even say that, well, in the trials, the cousin even went to Kitty with all of that. And she just brushed her off.
Yep. Absolutely.
Which is disgusting.
So you guys can play a drinking game. Every time I say absolutely, take a shot.
And I feel like I was going to say like again. I say like a lot, but I think I've been okay this time. But so to the murder, I mean, they spent a lot of years enduring a lot of sexual, physical, mental abuse from their father. Even their mother to a degree. Because, like you said, she wasn't nurturing. She wasn't loving. That is abuse.
That's it. And if she's keeping those secrets and they know she's keeping those secrets, that's not someone they can rely on. That's not someone they can go to protect them.
They've got no safe space, really. Or their safe space becomes part of the space that's the problem.
Exactly.
And I don't know how else to explain that.
That's like your main job as a mum. Is to be that safe space for your children. Yeah. And they didn't have that. They didn't have it in their dad. They didn't have it in their mum.
I just don't understand how knowing what he did to them, how it didn't disgust her. How did that not...
Right?
I just don't understand that.
I'm going to be really, really frank right here. But you know your husband's abusing your children the way he was. And then you go and lay down with that man at night. You let that man touch you.
Yeah.
Like...
Well, but anyway, so I don't want to go into details of that too much. But they endured a lot, and they endured it for. If I say endure one more time, they went through a lot for many years. From what was it, ages of like 6?
Yeah, I think for Erik it went for longer. From what I've seen, Lyle only got it for a small period of time. God, it's probably not the right terminology, but. Lyle was abused for a shorter period of time, and then Erik was abused for, I think, from the age of 6, and he was still being abused as
up to that
point. Murder happened,
and that's why they got pushed to that point. It was happening for so long, and when Erik, because did he admit it to Lyle? And then that's why he started planning all this. That's why Lyle was like, you got to get out of there. But obviously knew he wouldn't be able to just pack up his bags and leave.
That's it. So Erik had told Lyle, and the plan was at the time for Erik to go on to university and leave. That was his get out of jail free card. But then his parents wouldn't allow him to go to the university he wanted to, and was signing him up for UCLA so he could still live at home.
Oh, really?
So he was trying, that was his, I'm out, I'm free.
Yeah. Because Lyle had freedom.
Yeah.
Oh, so on August 18th, 1989, Lyle and Erik went to several gun stores in South Carolina to buy handguns. And I think they used Lyle's friend's stolen card to purchase the guns.
There was a waiting period. They didn't want to wait for the handguns. So I think that's why they ended up getting the shotguns.
See, I don't understand that. Like, how do they make people wait for a handgun, but a shotgun is more easily accessible?
Right.
Do you feel what I mean?
Right.
That just blows my mind.
So America's laws are obviously very, very different to ours, but is it because a shotgun's more used for hunting, whereas a handgun's You don't have a handgun for good reasons.
Yeah,
a handgun is only ever for bad reasons.
Maybe. And I mean, that's one thing we can, I guess, as we look at cases in the future, our laws in Australia are so different to obviously American because we don't have like guns so accessible here.
Because we had one mass shooting and changed the laws. Do you hear that, America?
The whole country.
We had one.
But obviously we're not that knowledgeable then on the gun laws and stuff. So that just blows my mind that, yeah, you can get a shotgun, but it's harder to get a handgun. You can obviously kill someone with a shotgun. Yeah, so they planned it. They had those shotguns for quite some time. They kept bringing them closer. They kept not anticipating. They were scared for their life.
Yeah, because Lyle had confronted Jose at this point. He'd confronted him and said that he knew what he was doing and had said he wanted it to stop. And Jose's response was, "I'll do what I want with my son."
Yeah,
they were his words. "I'll do what I want with my son."
Yeah, that's messed up.
And that was when Lyle decided that the only way to stop this was this way. And after years and years of them being told, "If you tell anyone, I'm going to kill you," now Jose knows that Erik's told Lyle. Jose's always promised Erik that if he tells anyone, he's going to kill him. So these boys are terrified now.
Yeah, because didn't one of them literally sleep with a shotgun in their room, pointing at the door, terrified that he was going to come in?
Yep, that was Erik. Yep.
Yeah. That's horrible.
Imagine feeling that way with your parents, in your own home with your parents.
Yeah.
I've got to sleep with a shotgun in case my parents come in.
Yeah. And I know it's all like smoke and mirrors and whatever they call it, because obviously from the outside, the family looked like a perfect family.
Yeah.
They had all this money. They had successful jobs. You know, Kitty was still loved, even though she wasn't, you know, didn't have a job or anything like that.
Yeah.
But she was still pretty high up in social circles and stuff. And even the boys, even though they got in so much trouble with the law, you know, stealing, theft, whatever, that Jose always got them out of. So you think from the outside, it just all looks perfect. Happy family.
Yep.
Rich, successful.
And that would have been exactly what Jose wanted. From the outside, the world looked... to the world, they looked amazing. They were that family that everyone wanted to be. They were envied. But you close those doors and there was a whole different world inside that house.
Yeah. And it's sad because they still tried to protect that to the end. Even during the trial at first, they refused to disclose what happened because they didn't want to paint their father in a bad picture. It's like, well, he abused you though. That's
it. Like, who cares what anyone's opinion is of him when he's doing that too?
And that's what's crazy because they tried to make it look like a mob hit just to preserve the family name still.
Yep. Because they were living in a world where it was better to say that, hey, our parents were killed by the mob because that meant you were powerful. That meant you were somebody, you were doing something.
Yeah.
Our parents were killed by the mob, not, hey, our dad was a pig, so we killed him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so they, like we said, had the guns with them quite regularly, quite close by for a long period of time because they'd gotten to a point where they knew enough was enough and they knew that they couldn't just pack up and leave the house. They knew that this was the only way out for them.
Yep.
So on, August 20th in 1989, Jose and Kitty were watching television in the den of their Beverly Hills mansion. And the two boys literally just walked into the den carrying the loaded shotguns and just started firing.
Yep.
And what was it? 6 times that Jose was shot, including a fatal shot to the back of his head, which was all done by Lyle.
Yep.
And then Kitty was shot 10 times in total. I believe Erik was going to shoot Kitty.
Yeah, so Erik, from what I've seen, Erik shot into the room and Lyle shot at the parents. So there was something I was watching the other day that said the only shot that Erik landed on either of them was a shot to Kitty's leg. And everything else was shot by Lyle.
Yeah, so that's what we were arguing when we were chatting about this. We were like, how did they get the same sentence when, if they wanted to look at technicality like that, they did 2 totally different crimes?
Exactly. If you break it down to that, one person is a murderer. One person committed double homicide that night, and the other person committed grievous bodily harm with a deadly weapon.
Yeah, or whether they wanted to make it attempted murder, if they wanted to go that far, but he didn't technically murder anyone.
Nope.
So, yeah, and it's crazy because it's like almost they wanted to get caught because I believe they killed them and they sat there for a long period of time expecting the police to rock up thinking, someone was going to have heard these shotgun shots or whatever, and then call the police. No one rocked up.
Yep.
After they waited, they ended up, I believe, getting rid of their bloody clothes.
Yep.
They ended up, I believe, burying the shotguns somewhere on Mullen Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they ended up going to a movie theater to get an alibi. They were going to purchase tickets, I believe, for Batman of all movies, and abandoned that plan because they realised that the timestamp would be on ticket stub.
Yep.
Yeah. So after they didn't get the movie ticket, they ended up heading to Taste of LA Festival at Santa Monica Civic Auditorium. So they went and did all these things.
Yes. Yep.
Like I said, got rid of the clothes, got rid of the weapons, went to get an alibi, then went to a second location for an alibi, then ended up coming home and the police still weren't there.
Yeah.
So not a single person called.
Yep.
Or whether they called and didn't rock up, but not a single person rocked up.
Yep.
To inspect that. That's crazy.
to look at where there were 15 gunshot sounds in Calabasas.
And this wasn't downtown LA. This was Beverly Hills in the 80s.
And the neighbours even said they heard the shots.
Yeah.
We heard the shots and we heard a screaming, which they've now worked out the screams were Erik. It was Erik screaming.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, that's a bit...
And no one called. No one picked up the phone because where they were and the life they lived, again, all about appearances. I guess they just didn't expect it. That's it. Yeah. So they're not going to call and say, oh, I think something's happened at my neighbours. Because if nothing's happened, they don't want to look like the bad neighbour that's made the phone call about noise at their neighbour's house.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what if they're just watching a loud movie or something? Yeah. I mean, they were in their like little theatre room or whatever it was called.
Exactly.
Their little den. But that's wild. So Erik went in there and he couldn't do it. He couldn't shoot her. And I think Lyle ended up coming in and being like, go on, do it. And then obviously he ended up doing it.
And he couldn't fire the shot. So Lyle did it.
And they went back and they shot their knees out, didn't they, as well? To
make
it look more
like a mafia hit. Yep.
Yeah. That's wild. But they admitted that obviously once the police rocked up, they were dressed differently, but they said that if the police, not blaming the police saying they did a bad job, but I mean, if you look at the
details,
like they admitted that if they actually questioned them correctly, they probably would have admitted to everything that night.
Well, the boys had put the guns in their tennis bags and had walked straight through in front of all the police with their tennis bags, carrying the guns as they walked them out of the house.
Oh, didn't they bury them beforehand?
I think they buried it after.
Oh, and then,
yeah. But the guns have never been retrieved. They still don't have them now.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, that's crazy.
They walked straight out with them.
Yeah, straight past the cops, yeah.
If that was any other investigation, in the documentary, the one that's on Netflix, it says Beverly Hills police are trained in customer service, not police investigations.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's
Which was exactly what they were doing. They were, attending the needs of the family as opposed to investigating the crime.
And that's crazy because they was also saying that they had gun residue on their hands if they got tested properly, as they should have been being on the scene.
Yep.
Once they arrived, they would have
been solved that night.
That's wild. So in the end, they obviously Erik was pretty messed up after it. He was, I believe, I can't remember if it was both of them or just Erik, but he was still living there for a little bit. All they did was change the furniture a bit in that den, and he was still living there for a bit.
Could you imagine? Imagine walking past that room.
That den, and that, because was it in the hallway as well?
Yeah, it looked in the pictures. It looked like it was like as you come in the front door, it was just to the side. So you can't get in and out of that house without
every day. Yeah, that's crazy. But so he was pretty messed up, and he even, I believe, contemplated suicide quite a bit of times. I guess because of the whole situation and everything that's happened. Yeah, and he ended up admitting to his, I think they call it a psychotherapist. Psychotherapist. He ended up admitting to him about the murders.
Yep.
I guess, believing he had privacy and doctor confidentiality, and ended up, I guess that's how they got him, because he confessed.
He the psychotherapist was as shady as they come, and had told his girlfriend, who was another client of his, had told her what had happened, and was manipulating her by saying she's in danger because the Menendez brothers know that she knows that they did the killing.
Yeah.
So he used that to manipulate and twist her
to get around the but he told her though, so that's still
and then
breaking the confidentiality.
That's it. But then she hit the point where she was so scared of him that she went to the police, and that was how she escaped him, was by ratting out the brothers.
Oh, so I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a whole...
blows my mind. That's just wild to me that they'll use that, break the privacy, confidentiality, whatever it's called, break that and arrest him and use that because he confessed. But Kitty confessed to her psychotherapist the whole situation, admitted she knew that they were being sexually abused, and they didn't use that as evidence. That's, how can you pick one and not use the other?
Right. But the whole case, right from the start, everything was terrible about it. It was poorly investigated. It was the trial was a joke. The first trial was great. The second trial was a joke.
Yeah, but it was in the first trial. So they, just to jump back a bit, so they obviously got arrested after he confessed, and then all this got out. Erik got arrested, and was it Lyle was overseas?
Yeah, he was in Israel, I think, at a tennis tournament.
Yeah, and ended up flying back. Didn't have to do that. Like,
he was home and hosed. He was in another country. He had all this money.
Yeah.
He would have been fine.
He would have been fine. And Erik even admitted as well that it was, like you said, a media circus. If they just came to his house and arrested him, he would have gone willingly. They didn't have to handcuff him in public with cameras in his face and make a circus out of it. So they got obviously arrested. I think it was in the 90s.
Yeah, I think it was like 91, 92. It was around there. It was a couple of years later.
No, I think it was just straight out 90s.
Oh, 90? Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously the trials happened. So it was crazy. They had 2 trials, and the first trial showed all the evidence. They were both on the stand, both admitted to absolutely everything that happened between them and Jose, and had, I believe, their family members on the stand, and they brought evidence like letters. They brought obviously conversations, but you can't prove a conversation, but they admitted to having conversations with Kitty about the abuse and her just brushing it under the rug. And like I said, the letter. So there was a letter from Erik to his cousin explaining the abuse, going over it, and they ended up, it was 50-50 split.
Yeah, so the women wanted manslaughter, and the men wanted murder.
Yeah.
And in that first case, a murder conviction was a death sentence case.
Yeah, because there was certain substantial, I can't remember what the wording they used, but so there was something within the case that would allow them to be put under the death sentence.
Yeah. So what they were trying to push for was obviously the murder with the death sentence, or manslaughter based on improper self-defense. So proper self-defense is you're pinned in a corner, you can't get out, it's life or death, you've got to kill them for you to be free. Improper self-defense is you've got a strong and honest belief that your life is in danger if you don't act first. So that's what they were trying to push for, was that the boys had a strong and honest belief that if they didn't kill Kitty and Jose, they were going to be killed.
Yeah. And so obviously the sentences are quite different.
Yeah.
On those.
Absolutely, yeah.
So with that evidence, they could have been out, if they obviously didn't get the murder sentence, they could have been out by now. They've been in prison for 36 years. And so with the first trial, with that split, they couldn't come to what's the word?
Mutual
decision. So that was a mistrial.
Yeah.
And before they ended up doing the second trial, it's crazy. The whole O.J. Simpson case happened in between the first and second trial of the Menendez brothers.
Yeah.
And that swayed them a ton, obviously, because O.J. Simpson got away with murder.
Yeah.
So the
absolutely
judges and everyone in the media circus was crazy about that case, because he was obviously a big celebrity back in those days. And because he got away with murder, I guess they wanted to prove a point.
Yeah. And they couldn't have a second case.
Yeah.
Like someone else walking. So that judge had, I actually saw this morning, that judge presided over the Rodney King case as well, where all the police officers got off.
Oh, really?
For what they'd done to Rodney King.
He just sounds shady as fuck.
Yeah. And then there was the Menendez case that was the hung jury. And then the O.J. Simpson case. So by this point, he's had 3 losses on 3 major high-profile cases.
Yeah.
Because they've just released a court TV channel.
Yeah.
So they've got all of these cases are all over the news because suddenly the coolest thing to watch is reality TV court
Everyone's
cases.
just nosy.
That's it. And then when it comes back to it, he's like, you know what? I've got to fry somebody.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's terrible that it's ended up being them that's had to cop that.
Yep.
So in the second trial, they didn't show any evidence. They weren't allowed to show. It was pretty much the sexual abuse didn't even come into it. He was like, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me, pretty much.
That's it. It was based on what happened that night and that night only.
And so their only option was then pretty much murder or they're innocent, which they're not. So they obviously chose the murder option.
Yep.
And they ended up getting life in prison without parole.
Yeah.
And that's wild.
What would they have been? I think they were 22 and 24 when they were sentenced. Maybe even younger. Because Erik was 18 and Lyle was 21 when the crime was committed. And then I think, oh, there you go. Second trial was 95 to 96. So they would have been 25-ish, around there somewhere.
Judge Weisberg, you piece of shit.
Right?
Yeah. When you look at because obviously there's a big media back into it now, and there's the Netflix documentary and the Ryan Murphy series. I haven't watched that one. I'm a bit, I don't know, I'm not put off, but a lot of people have said it's very like misinformation of the whole thing, and everything's been misconstrued.
Because of all the investigation and the research we've done to do this case for the podcast, if you go back and watch the Ryan Murphy one now, you'll probably be like, that's not true. That's bullshit. Like, you'll know everything. Yeah. Whereas when I watched it, I was like, oh, wow. Oh. And then later I found out things that weren't true.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, well, it was a TV show. But I think if I went back and watched that Ryan Murphy one now, I'd probably be so angry at some of the things.
Because some people have said to watch it, not with an open mind, but watch it as if it was a drama show.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
a thriller show or whatever. And
it's still a good show. It's just not correct.
Yeah, like he's taken one piece of fact and made it this massive thing or something. Yeah, because I heard it was the whole relationship between Lyle and Erik, he made it very, I forget what you called it the other day. It was very like Alabama.
Very Alabama Brothers.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, it was very like Alabama love, as opposed to, it was really just them trauma bonding.
Yeah. They had no peace or calm in their home. They only found peace and calm in each other.
Yeah.
So, you know, all Lyle wanted to do was protect his little brother, which 90% of siblings out there are going to do that. He just wanted to protect his little brother, and unfortunately it was the cost of his parents' life.
Oh, it was so sad in that documentary when one was like, oh, you know, I tried to save Lyle.
Yeah.
And then Lyle was like, I tried to save Erik, and look where it's gotten him. Like, look where he is now. What a life.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
Yep.
So I really hope that, I'm in the opinion that they should be out. They should have been out a long time ago.
I completely agree.
36 years is plenty. Like, there's people out there that, I think we were talking about some bloke that chopped up someone.
Yeah.
Arms, legs, everything, and I think he got 5 years or something. Like, that's crazy. Whereas there's so much evidence of abuse and so much just trauma, and they're still in prison.
Witnesses, so many witnesses. And even now, one of the band members in one of the bands that Jose represented has come forward and said that he was molested by him. There's so much evidence, and I almost feel so that the guy that's now come forward, I'm so glad he has come forward because it's going to help the boys so much now.
Yeah.
But you've had 36 years to come forward and help those men.
Yeah.
36 years.
I guess maybe because, see, that's like one thing. Because of how the Menendez brothers were painted and disregarded for with their abuse, I guess other people were like, well, no one's going to listen to me.
Yeah, he probably would have been terrified to come out. Yeah.
And then probably people would have said he's just riding on the coattails of the media or just trying to get his 15 minutes of fame or something.
Yeah.
And so I get it.
Especially back in 1989 too. Men didn't talk about that because they were still living in a world, especially the world they were living in. They were still living in a world where it was, you didn't talk about abuse. You didn't talk about what went on outside of the home. And if you were a man who was being sexually abused, you would be afraid that people would think you were gay. So he had so many things against them, so many reasons to keep their mouth shut. So you can understand why they didn't come out. And like they say, if you bottle things up, eventually you'll explode. And they did. They just did it with shotguns.
Exactly. And I guess they are free. They're free of all that abuse. But it's good to see that even though they've been sentenced to life, they're still doing good things in prison. If I was sentenced to life and had, I guess, not that light at the end of the tunnel or hope that I would get out one day, I probably wouldn't do the right thing.
Yeah.
I'd probably be too pissed off about it.
I feel like I would give up. Like, how do you still have light for a better life if you've just been told, hold on, you're in prison for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
I guess if you're in this situation, you'd look at it differently. But they've done amazing things. The work they're doing with sexual abuse victims, that's fantastic. They're trying to help rehabilitate prisoners so that when they get out, they're not coming back in. They're not treating prison like a revolving door.
Yeah.
So
they're doing good, and it's good to see that.
They've never been in trouble. They've been model prisoners.
Yeah. Imagine what they could do once they get out.
Yep.
So I guess by the end of this week, hopefully we get an answer. So like we said, hopefully when this episode's out, that they're out as well.
That's it. Hopefully we've got a little, added episode in there just like screaming and cheering because they're free.
Just our 2 cents of,
That's it. Because it's, it's something that you could honestly, like this case, you could talk about for a week straight and still never go over all the facts, still never cover every little bit of it because there's just so much behind it.
Yeah.
And so much that got kept out and so much that people didn't talk about. And there's, the way people carried on and vilified the boys because they got that life insurance payout and went and brought Porsches and cars
shoes and watches and stuff. Yeah. Like, but everyone grieves differently.
They were raised in a household where you didn't show emotion. Men didn't cry. You had to look good. You had to be rich. You had to have all these amazing things, which is what they continued to do.
Yeah, it was all about appearances, and that's how they were raised.
And they had freedom for the first time in their life. They would have been happy for the first time in their life.
Yeah.
Because they know they can go out and live their life and not come home and be abused.
But they were still really young when they were spending all that money. They were like teenagers still, really.
Yep. And I think people forget that part so much because you look at them and they're men.
Yeah.
Like they look like full grown men. Erik was 18. He was a baby and he'd just been given $300,000.
Yeah. Of course I'm going to go buy a Porsche that my dad said I couldn't get. Of course I'm going to go do it.
And I know when I'm sad, I'm straight on Temu and I'm spending that money. I'm after paying everything. And then I feel
a Porsche is a little different to Temu. But
if you get that high from shopping and you get the endorphins from shopping, and that was probably what they were searching for.
Yeah. They were still technically grieving.
That's it. They were looking for
mother and father that they didn't. Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, I think people don't see. Like a child that's grown up in an abusive home, when you lose a parent, you don't just mourn the parent, you mourn the fact that you're never going to have that good relationship with them. Because as a child growing up in an abusive home, all you want and all you beg for out of life is that moment when the parent wakes up and realizes they do love you and they do give a shit. When that parent's dead, that's gone too.
Yeah.
So you're mourning all of that. You're mourning the fact that they're gone. You're probably slightly relieved that they're gone. Then you're feeling terrible that you're relieved that they're gone.
It's like that, and then, the 5 stages of grief or whatever.
Yeah, that's it. And it's just this vicious circle, which is why Erik ended up so depressed and suicidal and ended up confessing to Dr. Oziel because he just couldn't handle it.
Yeah. I suppose deep down, he just wanted to get caught, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
And maybe somewhat didn't understand. I know it sounds silly to say that an 18-year-old doesn't understand death, but wanted the pain to stop, but didn't realise that by killing the parents, they're dead. I know what I'm trying. I can't find the words, but I know what I'm trying to say. Like, not realizing just that death is so final. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
It's so final. Well, I guess we'll stop it there because we've been talking for so long already. But like we said, hopefully we have an answer by the end of this week, and they get let go. They can continue their good deeds and continue their great work that they're doing.
And keep them on parole for the rest of their life. That's fine. Just let them out.
Yeah,
I don't
they've
think
done their time.
They're not a danger. That's it. They're not a danger to society.
Literally, they've been in prison longer than I've been alive.
Well, there you go.
That's
I cannot say the same thing, but you know.
Well, thank you for listening to our first episode, guys. If you enjoy us rambling, I guess come back for next episode. I think we're gonna cover some random spooky tales.
Next episode, I have a spooky tale for you. So
I think I might sneak in a little Ouija board chat in there.
Nice.
Not meaning I'm going to contact anyone using one. I just mean have a chat about Ouija boards. But so I guess we'll see you next episode.